The massive space station floated in the darkness like a jewel made of light. It was called the Assembly Hall, and it was the center of galactic civilization. 12 alien species had built it together over thousands of years. They believed they were the most advanced beings in the universe. They were about to meet humanity. Admiral Park stood at the window of his ship, the Resolve, and looked at the station. He was 53 years old with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too many battles. His uniform was simple and clean, decorated with medals he never talked about. Behind him, his crew prepared for the most important moment in human history. "Admiral, we are receiving docking instructions," said Commander. She was younger than maybe 35, with short black hair and a face that rarely smiled. She was his tactical officer and the best he had ever worked with. "Follow them exactly," replied. "We are guests here, let us act like it." Lieutenant Lee looked up from his console. He was the youngest officer on the bridge, only 28, but he was a genius with weapons. He had designed the new systems that Earth's fleet now carried. "Sir, their scanning technology is very advanced. They are looking at everything on our ship." "Let them look," said calmly. "We have nothing to hide." The Resolve docked with the station, and the human delegation walked through the airlock, led them with on his right and on his left. Behind them came soldiers, scientists, and diplomats. They all wore their best uniforms. They all felt nervous. The inside of the station was beautiful and strange. The walls seemed to be made of flowing water that had been frozen in place. Lights of many colors danced in patterns that hurt human eyes, and everywhere there were aliens. Had studied the files. He knew about the tall beings made of living crystal who believed they were the oldest in species in the galaxy. He knew about the insect-like creatures with 4 arms and minds that could calculate faster than any computer. He knew about the pale ones and all the others, but seeing them in person was different from reading about them. Approached them. It was 8 feet tall, and its body reflected light like a diamond. When it spoke, the sound was like glass wind chimes. "Welcome, humans of Earth," it said. "I am High Speaker. The Assembly has waited long to meet your kind." Bowed his head slightly. "Thank you, High Speaker. We are honored to be here." Made a gesture that might have been a smile. "Come, the Assembly wishes to learn about your civilization, your technology, your capabilities." They were led to a great chamber where representatives of all 12 species sat in a circle. The humans were given seats at the center, like performers on a stage. Did not like this arrangement, but he said nothing. For hours, the humans answered questions. They talked about Earth's history, its cultures, its achievements. The aliens seemed interested but not impressed. Then the questions turned to military matters. "Show us your weapons," a representative clicked. Its mandibles moved in complex patterns as it spoke. "We wish to understand how you defend yourselves." Stepped forward. He activated a holographic display that showed Earth's military technology. He explained that could fire metal slugs at incredible speeds. He showed them the missile systems, the nuclear warheads, the conventional explosives, the bullet-firing weapons that human soldiers carried. When he finished, there was silence. Then the High Speaker made a sound. It took a moment to understand that it was laughing. "Kinetic weapons," said, and now other aliens were making their own laughing sounds. "Projectiles, explosives, you still use such things." A representative leaned forward. "We abandoned kinetic weapons 12,000 years ago. They are slow, wasteful, and primitive. Our plasma lances can cut through any armor. Our quantum disruptors can destroy matter at the atomic level." "Your nuclear devices," another alien said with what sounded like disgust. "Our radiation bombs, dirty, uncontrolled, barbaric." His hands tightened into fists at her sides, put a gentle hand on her arm. "Our weapons have served us well," he said calmly. "They have protected our people for centuries." "Protected you from what?" asked. "From each other." The alien made another laughing sound. "Yes, we have studied your history. You are a species that loves war. You have fought yourselves constantly. Perhaps that is why you still cling to these museum pieces." Felt anger rising in his chest, but he controlled it. He had been insulted by better enemies than this crystal creature. "We are practical people," he said. "We use what works." "What works against primitives," the replied. "Your weapons would be useless against any advanced civilization. A single warship could destroy your entire fleet before you could fire a shot." The other aliens made sounds of agreement. Smiled. It was a small smile, barely visible, but noticed it. She had seen that smile before, usually right before did something that surprised everyone. Perhaps, said quietly, perhaps not. The aliens did not hear him. They were too busy discussing among themselves how backward humanity was. The meeting ended with Earth being granted provisional membership in the Galactic Assembly. This meant they could observe but not vote. They could trade but only for basic goods. They were labeled a developing species and told they would be guided toward proper civilization. As they walked back to their ship, finally spoke, they laughed at us. Yes, said. They think we are children playing with toys. Yes. Are we going to do anything about it? Stopped walking. He looked at the great station one more time at all its beauty and advanced technology. Then he looked at his officers. We are going to do what humans have always done, he said. We are going to wait. We are going to watch. We are going to learn. And when the time comes, we are going to show them exactly what our primitive weapons can do. Smile grew wider. I have some ideas about that, Admiral. I know you do, Lieutenant. I know you do. They boarded their ship and left the station. Behind them, the aliens continued their lives, confident in their superiority, unaware that they had just made a terrible mistake. They had underestimated humanity, and throughout history, everyone who had done that had eventually learned the same lesson. It was always a painful lesson. 6 months passed after humanity joined the Galactic Assembly. Life continued as normal for the great alien civilizations. They traded with each other. They argued about politics. They looked down at the primitive humans who still played with bullets and bombs. Everything was peaceful and boring. Then the Dominion came. Ambassador Myra was eating breakfast in her small office on the assembly station when the first reports arrived. She was a woman of 42 years with a calm face and sharp mind. Her job was to represent Earth to aliens who thought humans were barely more than animals. It was not an easy job, but she did it well. Her assistant ran into the room without knocking. His face was white with fear. Ambassador, you need to see this. The holographic display showed a star system Myra had never heard of. It was on the far edge of space, a place called the Outer Reach. The images were hard to understand at first. Then Myra realized what she was seeing. Ships, thousands of ships. They were black and shaped like teeth, and they were destroying everything in their path. What is this? Myra whispered. The Dominion, her assistant said. They were supposed to be a myth, stories that old species told to scare children, but they are real and they are here. Over the next few days, more reports came. Each one was worse than the last. The Dominion fleet did not negotiate. It did not demand surrender. It simply arrived at a planet and began killing everyone on it. Their weapons were strange and terrible, some kind of dark energy that ate through shields like acid through paper. The assembly called an emergency meeting. Myra attended, sitting in the back where humans were expected to sit. She watched the alien leaders argue with each other. We must combine our fleets, a commander shouted. Attack them together. Our plasma weapons have no effect, a general replied. His crystal body was cracked in several places. He had survived a battle that killed 10,000 of his people. Their shields absorb energy. Our most powerful quantum disruptors barely scratch their armor. Then we must retreat, save what we can. Retreat to where? They are everywhere. Myra listened and said nothing. She noticed something strange. None of the aliens were looking at the humans. It was like they had forgotten Earth existed. 3 weeks later, the fell. The planet that had stood for 100,000 years, the heart of the oldest civilization in the galaxy, burned in atomic fire. Billions died in 3 days. They lost half their colonies in a single week. Their famous warships, the ones that were supposed to be able to destroy humanity's entire fleet, exploded like toys when the Dominion attacked. Myra watched it all from the assembly station. She sent reports to Earth every day. Admiral read every one. They are losing, said to his officers during a meeting on the Resolve. The most advanced civilizations in the galaxy are being destroyed by an enemy they cannot hurt. Their energy weapons do not work against Dominion shields, explained. He had been studying every battle report he could find. The shields are designed to absorb and redirect energy. Plasma, lasers, quantum beams, everything just makes them stronger. But kinetic weapons? Asked. Smiled, that same small smile from 6 months ago. Shields that stop energy are not the same as shields that stop mass. A physical object moving fast enough will punch right through. You mean our might work? I mean our will definitely work. The question is whether we want to help the people who laughed at us. Was quiet for a long moment. He thought about the insults, the mockery, the way the aliens had treated humanity like stupid children. Part of him wanted to let them burn. But then he thought about something else. The Dominion was not going to stop with the assembly worlds. Once they finished with the aliens, they would come for Earth. Humanity would be next. And there was another reason, a deeper one. We are human, said finally. We do not abandon people who need help, even if they do not deserve it. The message reached the assembly station 3 days later. Earth was offering military assistance. Myra delivered the message personally to the Emergency Council. The remaining alien leaders looked at her with expressions she had never seen before. Their pride was gone. Their confidence was broken. They looked like scared children. You will help us? The representative asked. Its voice was weak and trembling. Yes, Myra said, but there are conditions. Anything, name your conditions. Myra had waited 6 months for this moment. She had practiced these words many times in her mind. First, humanity will have full membership in the assembly. Equal voice, equal vote. Second, Admiral Park will command the combined fleet. All alien ships will follow his orders. Third, you will never again call our weapons primitive. The aliens looked at each other. Once they would have laughed at these demands. A primitive species commanding advanced civilizations. Impossible. But that was before the Dominion. Agreed, the representative said. All of it, just please help us. Myra nodded slowly. Earth accepts, our fleet is already on its way. She left the chamber and sent a message too. It contained only 2 words. We're in. On the resolve, read the message and began issuing orders. Humanity was going to war, not for revenge, not for glory, for survival. His and theirs. The galaxy had mocked Earth's weapons. Now they would see what those weapons could do, only hoped it would be enough. He looked at the stars through his window. Somewhere out there, the Dominion was coming. An enemy that had destroyed civilizations thousands of years older than humanity. But humans had been fighting wars since before they could write. They had turned sticks into spears, rocks into axes, metal into swords, powder into guns. They had split the atom and walked on the moon. They were small and young and primitive. And they were very, very dangerous when they needed to be. The fleet prepared for battle, the weapons were loaded, the soldiers were ready. It was time to show the galaxy what humanity could do. The combined fleet gathered at a place called the Threshold Nebula. It was a cloud of purple and gold gas that stretched across light years of space. Behind it lay the last assembly worlds that had not yet fallen. If the Dominion broke through here, everything would be lost. Admiral Park stood on the bridge of the Resolve and looked at his fleet. 200 human warships. 800 alien vessels from 6 different species. It was the largest military force in galactic history, and it was probably not enough. The alien admirals had come aboard the Resolve for a strategy meeting. They stood in the conference room, towering over the humans, looking uncomfortable. None of them were used to taking orders from a primitive species. Did not care about their discomfort, he cared about winning. Here is the situation, he said, pointing at a holographic map. The Dominion fleet has 10,000 ships. We have 1,000. They have shields that absorb energy weapons. You have spent the last 2 months learning that your plasma and quantum weapons are useless against them. We know all this, Admiral clicked impatiently. Tell us something new. Smiled, it was not a friendly smile. Something new, very well, Lieutenant, explain our weapons to our allies. Stepped forward. He was nervous speaking to so many important aliens, but his voice was steady. He activated a display showing Earth's military technology. Your weapons fail because they use energy, he said. The Dominion shields absorb energy and use it to make themselves stronger, but kinetic weapons do not use energy in the same way. They use mass and speed. A physical object moving fast enough carries tremendous force that shields cannot simply absorb. He showed them a simulation, firing a 2-ton slug of tungsten metal at 30 kilometers per second. The slug hit a simulated Dominion shield. Instead of being absorbed, it punched straight through. This is the main gun of every human warship, continued. We call it a mass driver. It fires solid metal at 3% of light speed. The impact releases more energy than a nuclear bomb. But the shield cannot stop it because it is not energy. It is just a very fast rock. The aliens stared at the simulation. Some of them looked confused. Others looked disturbed. "You plan to throw rocks at them?" a commander asked. "Very fast rocks," said. "Very heavy rocks, very deadly rocks." "And this will work?" Answered, "It will work, but it will not be enough on its own. We need to change everything about how you fight." He took control of the display and showed them his battle plan. It was unlike anything the alien admirals had ever seen. "Your ships are designed for long-range combat. You sit far away and shoot energy beams at each other. That will not work here. We need to get close. We need to hit them hard and fast. We need to make them bleed." "Get close," an admiral repeated. "That is suicide. Their weapons will destroy us." "Their weapons are designed to fight ships that stay at range. They do not expect enemies to charge directly at them. We will use that." Outlined his strategy. Human ships would lead the attack, firing, and missiles. Alien ships would follow behind, using their superior speed to flank the enemy. Marine boarding parties would land on damaged Dominion ships and fight hand-to-hand. "Hand-to-hand," the commander said. "You mean physical combat with bodies?" "Yes, with bodies, with guns that fire metal bullets, with knives if necessary. We will take their ships from the inside." The aliens looked at each other. This was madness. This was the strategy of animals, not civilized beings, but their civilized strategies had failed. Billions were dead. They had nothing left to lose. "We will follow your plan," the admiral said finally. "May the stars forgive us." The enemy arrived 3 days later. 10,000 Dominion ships emerged from dark space like a swarm of black insects. They moved in perfect formation, confident and unstoppable. They had destroyed 100 worlds. This would be just one more. Watch them approach on his display screen. His heart was beating fast, but his hands were steady. He had been in many battles, but never one like this. "All ships," he said calmly. "This is Admiral Park. The enemy believes we are primitives. They think our weapons are toys. Today we show them the truth." He paused. "Today we show them that sometimes the old ways are the best ways. Today we show them what humanity can do. All ships, advance and engage." The resolve surged forward. Behind it, the entire fleet followed. The first fired. A 2-ton slug of tungsten metal crossed the distance between the fleets in seconds. It hit a Dominion battleship directly in the center. For a moment, nothing happened. The alien admirals watching from other ships held their breath. Then the battleship simply came apart. The kinetic energy of the impact was too much for any structure to handle. Metal and fire exploded outward in all directions. The Dominion fleet hesitated. For the first time in their 1,000-year history, they had just lost a ship. Lost it to a weapon they did not understand. His voice rang across the fleet. "All ships fire at will." 200 human warships opened fire together. Roared, missiles launched. Nuclear warheads streaked toward the enemy. The Dominion shields tried to stop the attack. They failed. Mass cannot be absorbed like energy. It can only be redirected or blocked, and nothing in the Dominion arsenal could block 2 tons of tungsten moving at 9,000 kilometers per second. Ships exploded. More ships exploded. The Black Fleet that had conquered half the galaxy began to burn. Commander was shouting targeting coordinates. Lieutenant was calculating firing solutions. All around them, the bridge crew worked with desperate speed. The aliens watching from their ships could not believe what they were seeing. The primitive humans were winning. Their ancient, barbaric weapons were tearing through the invincible Dominion fleet like paper. The battle had just begun, and already the galaxy would never be the same. The Battle of Threshold Nebula lasted for 3 days. 3 days of fire and death and desperate fighting. 3 days that changed the course of galactic history. Sergeant Han did not see the big picture. She did not know about fleet movements or strategic positions. She only knew the inside of a Dominion cruiser, where she and her Marines were fighting for every meter of ground. She was 30 years old with a scar across her left cheek and eyes that had stopped being afraid long ago. Her armor was covered in blood, some of it hers, most of it not. In her hands she held a rifle that fired metal bullets at very high speed. "Move up," she shouted to her team. "Second corridor on the left." The Dominion warriors were waiting for them. They were tall, nearly 7 feet, with bodies covered in some kind of living metal armor. Their eyes glowed red in the darkness. They carried weapons that shot beams of black energy, but had learned something important in the first hour of fighting. The Dominion had never faced an enemy that got close. Their personal shields, like their ship shields, were designed to stop energy weapons. They were not designed to stop bullets. She raised her rifle and fired 3 quick shots. The bullets punched through the warrior's shield like it was not there. The creature fell backward, dark blood spraying from holes in its chest. "Advance," ordered. Her Marines moved forward. Private Minu was on her right, young and scared but still fighting. Corporal Osara was on her left, reloading her rifle with practiced speed. Behind them came more soldiers, all of them tired, all of them wounded, all of them still standing. They pushed deeper into the ship. The Dominion warriors kept coming, and the Marines kept killing them. The corridors were filled with bodies and the smell of blood and gunpowder. Reached a large door. According to their scans, the ship's command center was on the other side. "Breach it," she ordered. Minu placed explosive charges on the door. They stepped back. The explosion tore the door apart. Inside, the Dominion commander was waiting. It was bigger than the others, its armor covered in symbols that might have been medals or ranks. It held a weapon that hummed with dark energy. It said something in its own language. Did not understand the words, but she understood the tone. It was mocking her, challenging her. She drew her combat knife. The Dominion commander fired its weapon, rolled to the side, feeling the heat of the beam pass her face. She came up running. The creature was fast, but was faster. She had grown up on Earth's colonies, fighting for survival since she was a child. She had learned to kill before she learned to read. She drove her knife into the small gap between the commander's helmet and body armor. The blade sank deep. Dark blood poured over her hand. The creature fell to its knees, leaned close to its ear. "Welcome to human warfare," she whispered. Then she twisted the knife, and it was over. Meanwhile, on the Resolve, Admiral was facing his own battle. The ship shook as enemy fire hit their shields. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. Damage reports came in constantly. "Hull breach on Deck 7, an officer reported. Deck 12 is venting atmosphere. Main is down to 40% power. "Maintain fire," ordered. "Target their command ships." Commander was working at her station, her fingers flying over controls. "Admiral, the S Horizon is requesting assistance. They are surrounded." Looked at the tactical display. The Horizon was one of their best ships, commanded by his oldest friend, Captain. They had served together for 20 years. They had saved each other's lives more times than could count. The Horizon was surrounded by 5 Dominion vessels. There was no way to reach them in time. A communication came through. His face appeared on screen. He was bleeding from a wound on his forehead, but his eyes were calm. He said, "I am going to do something stupid." "Do not." "There is a Dominion carrier behind me. If it launches its fighters, your fleet will be overwhelmed. I can stop it." "There has to be another way." Smiled. It was a tired smile, a sad smile, but also a proud smile. "There is no other way, you know that. I am setting course for the carrier. My reactor will detonate on impact." Felt something break inside his chest. He wanted to order to stop. He wanted to save his friend. But he was an admiral and he had a duty to the fleet. He said softly, "It has been an honor serving with you, old friend. Win this war. Make my death mean something." The communication ended. On the display, watched the Horizon turn toward the Dominion carrier. The ship accelerated to maximum speed, ignoring the enemy fire that tore pieces from its hull. The impact was beautiful and terrible. The Horizon hit the carrier directly in its center, and both ships disappeared in a ball of nuclear fire. The explosion destroyed 3 other Dominion ships that were too close. Stood in silence for a moment, then he turned back to the battle. "All ships," he said, his voice steady despite the grief in his heart. "Push forward, honor their sacrifice, end this." The fleet obeyed. By the end of the 3rd day, the Dominion had lost 2,000 ships. Humanity had lost 50. The aliens had lost 200. For every human ship destroyed, the Dominion lost 40. Finally, after 72 hours of constant fighting, the Dominion fleet did something it had never done in its entire history. It retreated. watched the enemy ships disappear into dark space. He was exhausted. He was wounded. He had lost his oldest friend and hundreds of good soldiers. But he had won. The Threshold Nebula belonged to humanity. The first victory against the Dominion had been achieved. The war was not over, but now, for the first time, there was hope. He looked at and both of them were tired and bloodied, but both of them were alive. "Send a message to Earth," said. "Tell them we held the line." Nodded and began typing. Across the fleet, human soldiers cheered. They had done the impossible. They had turned the tide. And somewhere in the Dominion's dark empire, leaders were gathering to discuss something they had never discussed before. How to defeat humanity. They would learn, eventually, that there was no answer to that question. The war lasted 2 years. 2 years of battles across 1,000 star systems. 2 years of blood and fire and sacrifice. 2 years of humanity leading a galaxy that had once laughed at them. Admiral Park was not the same man who had first visited the assembly station. His hair was completely white now. His face was marked with new scars. His eyes had seen things that would haunt him forever. But he had won. The final battle took place above a planet called Prime. It was the home world of the Dominion, a dark planet covered in black cities and war factories. For 1,000 years, the Dominion had launched invasions from this world. Today, that would end. The combined fleet surrounded the planet, 3,000 ships from Earth and her allies, carrying weapons that had proven themselves 100 times over. The Dominion's home fleet was destroyed. Their empire was broken. Only this last stronghold remained. Received a communication request from the planet's surface. He accepted it. The face that appeared on his screen was unlike any Dominion he had seen before. It was older, more complex, covered in scars and symbols of power. This was the Overlord, the supreme leader of the Dominion. "Human," the Overlord said. Its voice was deep and filled with hatred. "You have surprised us. Your primitive species was not supposed to be a threat." "And yet here we are," replied calmly. "You think you have won? You think this is over?" The Overlord's red eyes burned with anger. "We have existed for 10,000 years. We have destroyed civilizations older than your entire species. We will survive this. We will rebuild. We will evolve beyond your pathetic weapons, and then we will return." Was quiet for a moment. He thought about all the people who had died in this war. Human soldiers, alien civilians, children who would never grow up. He thought about Captain, who had given his life at Threshold Nebula. He thought about the countless sacrifices that had brought them to this moment. Then he spoke. "Let me tell you something about humans," he said. "You call our weapons primitive. You say we are a young species, barely out of our caves. You are right. We are young. Our civilization is only a few thousand years old. Our technology is simple compared to yours." He leaned forward. "But here is what you do not understand. We did not build our weapons to be beautiful. We did not build them to be elegant or sophisticated. We built them to kill, and we have been killing each other for 100,000 years. Long before we built cities, we were building weapons. We turned rocks into clubs. We turned sticks into spears. We turned metal into swords. We turned chemistry into guns. We split the atom and turned it into a bomb." The Overlord watched in silence. "Every time someone threatens us, we find a way to destroy them. Every time someone thinks they are stronger than us, we prove them wrong. You want to evolve beyond our weapons? Go ahead, try. We will evolve too. We will find new ways to kill you. That is what we do. That is who we are." His voice was cold and hard. "So here is my offer. Surrender. Disarm your military, stop your wars, live in peace, or we will destroy your planet. We will burn every city, every factory, every ship. We will make sure that the Dominion never threatens anyone ever again." The Overlord laughed. It was an ugly sound. "You would not dare. You claim to be civilized. Civilized species do not commit genocide." Did not smile. "We are not that kind of civilized. We are the kind of civilized that remembers what our ancestors did to survive. We are the kind of civilized that still has wolves in our blood. Do not test us." The Overlord's laughter stopped. It looked at for a long moment. Perhaps it saw something in the human's eyes. Perhaps it finally understood what kind of species it had awakened. "You are monsters," it whispered. "We are survivors," replied. "Make your choice." The Overlord cut the communication. Waited. Minutes passed, then hours. Finally, a message came from the planet's surface. The Dominion surrendered. 12,000 nuclear warheads rained down on military targets across Prime. Not cities, not civilians, just the war factories, the shipyards, the weapons facilities. The Dominion's ability to make war was destroyed forever. 2 months later, the new Galactic Assembly gathered for its first official meeting. The old assembly hall had been destroyed in the war. The new one was built in orbit around Earth. The message was clear. Ambassador Myra stood at the podium. Behind her stood Admiral, Commander, Lieutenant, and Sergeant, the heroes of the war, the symbols of humanity's victory. The alien representatives looked at them with new eyes. No more contempt, no more mockery, only fear and respect. Myra spoke. 2 years ago you called our weapons primitive. You said our technology was outdated. You laughed at us and called us children. She paused. You were right about some things. Our weapons are old. Our methods are brutal. We are a violent species with a violent history. She looked around the chamber. But we are also loyal. When you needed help, we came. When your worlds burned, we fought beside you. We bled for you. We died for you. Not because we forgave your insults, but because that is who we are. We protect the weak. We fight for the helpless. We do not abandon our allies, even when they do not deserve our help. Her voice grew harder. So let me make something very clear to every species in this galaxy. Earth is no longer a developing civilization. We are a full member of this assembly. We are equal partners in this alliance. And if anyone threatens us or our friends again, they will learn what we learned to teach the Dominion. She leaned forward. The galaxy is vast. There are countless stars and countless worlds. But there is nowhere you can hide from a species that turned rocks into extinction-level weapons. We are humanity. We remember our friends. We remember our enemies. And we never, ever forget. The chamber was silent. Outside, through the great windows of the assembly hall, Earth shone blue and white in the darkness of space. Around it, human warships patrolled silently. They were loaded. Their missiles were armed. They were ready for whatever came next. The war was over, but humanity's rise was just beginning. The aliens had learned their lesson. They would never mock Earth's weapons again. Because now they knew the truth. Sometimes the oldest weapons are the deadliest, and sometimes the youngest species is the most dangerous. The stars burned cold and bright in the endless void, and among them humanity had taken its place. Not as servants, not as children, but as warriors. The galaxy would remember.